I have never taken part in our fantasy bingo before, and I have been thinking about this non-stop since April. It's now the middle of June, and I can now finally sit down and really think about what I want to read for our fantasy bingo, and also begin my series that I'm going to do of tackling the our fantasy bingo board line by line. So, welcome to episode 1. In the first video, I will be reading the books that will fit the first line of the challenge. So if you do not know what our fantasy bingo is, I will leave a link to all the information you need down below if you want to take part. But it is a reading challenge, a year-long reading challenge that I believe goes from April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026. So that is a full year of trying to read 25 books that will fit the our fantasy bingo prompts. And I am going to try and focus as much on fantasy as possible because I have been in such a massive fantasy mood. I definitely feel myself coming back into loving fantasy books, especially the longer ones, after being intimidated by them for so long. But I've been waiting until I've had a little bit more time so I can actually begin this challenge. So as you can see here, there is an official bingo board that I cannot wait to tackle because I think the challenges sound so cool. I've also signed up for the challenge on Storygraph, so I will have my Storygraph link down below as well if you want to follow along, as well as the Storygraph or Fantasy Bingo challenge thing. It's also very helpful for recommendations too because I can see what people are logging on each prompt. So if I'm struggling to pick something for it, I can just look at that and pick something. However, I will say it's not 100% accurate because somebody logged Percy Jackson as a book published in the 80s. And let me tell you, that's not a book that was published in the 80s. However, it could have been one of those ones where they like vetoed the challenge and did something else, because I feel like you can change one of the prompts if you don't feel that prompt. So I am going to do the first line of this bingo board over the next couple of weeks. I will allow myself to do the prompts out of order, but I just can't go on to the next line until I've completed the first line. So once I've read the first 5 books, then I can unlock the next line. So that's kind of how I'm tackling the Our Fantasy Bingo this year. And if I end up loving it, I might do it next year as well. Who knows? So I'll let you know my TBR for this video and what I'm reading for each prompt. So the first prompt is Knights and Paladins. That challenge is one of the protagonists is a paladin or knight. There is a hard mode to this. The character has an oath or promise to keep. And I have already read the book that I want to read for this. And this is the only book that I'm going to use where I've already read it prior to the vlog. I did read this a couple of months ago, but it's A Hero Born by Yong. I read this in China. I took this to China with me only a couple of months ago, and that was when I decided, oh, I really want to do our fantasy bingo, and I wanted this one to be my very first one. So I have already read this one. I will give you a review of it in a minute. But for the rest of the books in this challenge, I will be reading for the very first time during the vlog. It's just, I really enjoyed this one and I really wanted to talk about it. So yeah. And this one would work for hard mode as well. And I feel like I am stretching this a little bit because, you know, the term knights and paladins can be a little bit flexible, but there is definitely a character who has an oath or a promise to keep. So in my eyes, I think this works for the first prompt. The next challenge is a hidden gem. So that's a book with under 1,000 ratings on Goodreads. Hard mode is published more than 5 years ago. I can't complete the hard mode prompt for this. And it was actually harder than I thought looking for something because I don't really use Goodreads, so I don't have a list on there. But I did think, oh, maybe a middle grade might work for this, like a middle grade fantasy, because I feel like middle grades are under reviewed on Goodreads. And I did end up finding one. It was after my 8th or 9th attempt to find something, but I've decided for Hidden Gem, I'm going to read The Witch, the Sword, and the Cursed Knights by Alexandria Rogers. As of filming this video, this only has 514 ratings on Goodreads, so this is definitely a hidden gem. And I've had this on my TBR for the last 3 years, and I do really just want to focus on books on my actual physical TBR. I don't want to buy new books for this challenge. I want to actually read the books that are in my home library. So it'll be nice to get this one checked off the list. Now then, the next challenge is published in the 80s. And I have 2 books that I really wanted to read for this challenge. One of them is The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, but this is not the one I'll be reading for this or talking about in this video, unfortunately. I am going to start the disc build for the very first time, and I'm going to read the first 4 books in a separate reading vlog, and it's going to be filled with spoilers. However, I really wanted to try and knock 2 birds with one stone and read this for this challenge and give a spoiler-free review of this in this video, and then direct you to the spoiler-filled vlog of the first 4 books. However, I think this is the only challenge that this would fit for the first line, but I have a more pressing book to read, so this one I'm going to have to put down, and it was nice and short as well. But I do have a book club that I am a co-host for that is happening next weekend, and I need to read this book, and I think this is the only prompt it will work for also, and that is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is the first book in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. So yeah, I am doing the 3 Swords along with Aaron from Booked and Busy and a whole range of other hosts, and yeah, I need to read this by next week. So it's a big one. I definitely need to get this done. So I am choosing this one over the first book in Discworld. This was published in 1988, I believe, just off my research online. And I'm still very excited to give it a go. The next prompt is high fashion. That's to read a book where clothing or fashion or fiber arts are important to the plot. And I do love the fact that there is a recommendations list in all of that on Reddit as well. But I didn't actually have to look for it because the initial post also says, this can be a crafty main character such as Torn by Rowena Miller, or a setting where fashion itself is explored, like A Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. So the fact that this was mentioned in the initial post really does help the fact that I own this. I really want to read it. This gorgeous, beautiful edition from the Broken Binding is something that I just, as soon as it came in, I knew I had to read it like ASAP. So I'm glad that this actually fits, even though it is a bit of a bigger one, and I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about the page count that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. But I've heard nothing but great things about this from people recently. So this definitely can work. And yeah, you can definitely tell that it has fashion on the cover too. Feel like this beautiful artwork helps demonstrate that. And I was going to struggle with this prompt anyway, so I'm glad that that was actually recommended straight away. And then finally on this line is Down with the System. Read a book in which a main plot revolves around disrupting a system. And I also had to scroll down, and then I saw somebody recommend the Dungeon Crawler Call series, and specifically book 3 onwards. Guess what book of Dungeon Crawler Call by Matt Dinniman I'm on? Book 3. I need to read book 3. Like, this is the next book I need to read. I am obsessed with the series. The first book was one of my favorite books of 2024, and I just read the second book recently, and I am now onto the third book, and the fact that it fits this challenge means that I can read it sooner rather than later, and I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier, thank goodness. So yeah, I'm just over the moon. I'm over the moon with my TBR. I just think it looks absolutely stunning. I will let you know what every single one of these books is about when I talk about them, and I give you my reviews, my thoughts, and this will be spoiler free. This will be a very spoiler free video, and you don't have to worry about spoilers or anything like that. Don't you worry. So I feel like that was like a long introduction to kind of introduce this challenge. If you end up enjoying this video, please do give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into our Fantasy Bingo Challenge 2025. Yeah, starting A Hero Born in China was actually the best decision I could have made, because I ended up really enjoying this book, and I knew I would because, you know, I bought it. I went out and bought it from the Broken Binding, which they better do books 2, 3, and 4. I want the complete set. But to actually experience it on my adventures in China, reading it in China, going around in China with this book in my hands was genuinely so good. It really did add to the experience. And can I just say, I love the introduction of this too. I heard there was some things about the translator apparently not being good, and they actually got replaced for 2, 3, and 4. I didn't think the translation was bad. I mean, I don't really understand like how I would know if the translation was bad or not, because I thought this was very well written, and I have no idea what the original said because I can't read the original language. But I genuinely thought the translator, who was Anna Holmwood, I genuinely thought that they were absolutely fine. And I genuinely love what they say in the introduction, because it really does help me to begin visualizing how epic this journey is going to be. You're about to begin a journey that will span the lengths of the Chinese Empire and beyond, traverse centuries, witness dynasties rise and fall in brutal wars and deceitful invasions. Brave men fight and die for their homeland, and traders exchange honor for personal gain. I could hear the epic music in the background as I was reading this introduction. It just set the stage brilliantly, in my opinion. And I love when they say the greatest loss that can occur in translation can only come from not translating at all. I mean, whether or not this was a good or not translation, I am so grateful it was translated, because I agree. Imagine if I got my entire life without reading this or something else that was originally written in a different language that I can't speak or read in. There are just too many great stories out there that I hope everything gets translated at some point, because this was a genuine treat. So this book, this starts in 1205. The Song Empire has been pushed into the south by the Jin Empire, and the style of this story, it does span quite a few years. So the plot of this book does sort of shift as the book goes on. But we start in this village where we meet Sky Fury and Ironheart. They are brothers in arms. Not actual brothers, but like they are sworn to each other to protect and fight alongside. No homo though. No homo. They do have pregnant wives, but they are so bonded and they fight alongside one another. And one thing I really liked about this book that I didn't think I would is that we have quite a few epic fight scenes in like the first 20 pages. I think there was like 3. I counted maybe 3. And you know, you see them do kung fu, you see them do other moves. And the way it's described, the way that it was painted to me was actually so fun to follow. Usually when I read fantasy books and there's a lot of fighting going on, I can't really follow it that well. But even though this is a bit of an older book, which again, I thought I would struggle with, but it was still so engaging, and the plot just moves so quickly. So yeah, we have this village where Sky Fury and Ironheart live. The narrative style is like oral storytelling. So we have this old man telling a story. This poem tells the villages where ordinary people once lived, tells you about the invasion of the Jinn, and we have this story of some really violent commanding officers. And so again, like, it really does help to paint a picture and to introduce me to the politics of this world, like the social standings of people, how people are treated. And I wrote the word C-U-N-T on one of them because one of the commanding officers was an absolute C-U-N-T, yes. But I did love the dynamic between Sky Fury and Ironheart, and we end up coming across this Taoist monk, and oh my gosh, like, there are some parts of this that I feel quite horror. I will, again, like, keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but some of this I think borders in horror because this Taoist monk has a severed head. And like, some of the visuals, especially with the fighting and, you know, the fact that it's so violent and sometimes so gory, it can border on the horror. And there's something coming up later on that is definitely horror in my eyes. Let's just say cannibalistic, incestuous siblings / husband and wife is coming up. Don't you worry. So this tragedy happens at the village, and the wives of Sky Fury and Ironheart get split up, and therefore the children that they were going to have get split up. And these children were sworn to also be brothers in arms when they grow up. And so you have this like fascinating look into family, but also like loyalty to one another, even when you're not actually like blood family. But honor is such a huge thing that I think comes across so brilliantly in the entirety of this book, not just the beginning of this book, but I think throughout as well. But there's such a shift after this, because yeah, after that tragedy happens, they've been split up. The boys are being raised in like totally different places. They've no idea where each other are or anything, or kind of don't really know much about one another either. But we have the 7 heroes of the South, and they swear that they will find these sworn brothers, they will teach them kung fu, and then when they both turn 18, they will fight one another. So like, that's kind of like the goal, the main goal of the 7 heroes of the South, although sometimes I call the 7 freaks of the South. I'm not sure I love 7 freaks. I think I much prefer 7 heroes. It sounds more epic. But the story doesn't really let up because we are going through pretty quickly. Like, I wouldn't say this is very detailed or anything. I guess this might be why the translator got some flack, maybe. I don't think there was like a whole lot of detail. You really do glaze past certain scenes, and it does really feel like it goes at a bit of a breakneck speed. But for me, I do love books that do go at a bit of a faster pace. It makes it feel more exciting for me. So I don't know if that was a translation thing, but yeah, we have so much time pass that the 7 heroes of the South, yeah, like, their goal is to find these sworn brothers and help. So I loved following their journey as well. I loved following each character. I feel like it was probably harder to connect to any specific character because of the way this read as. Like, it did feel older, like I could tell it was an older story. So therefore there wasn't really a personal connection there. I was just watching them and following them in their journeys, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, I couldn't really connect, which is why I didn't give it a 5-star or anything. Like, I love the plot of this. Don't get me wrong, like, this is one of my probably favorite books of the year, just because of like how impressed I was, like how surprised I was at how much I enjoyed it. But definitely not 5 stars because yeah, I couldn't really connect with characters in that way. I just loved watching what they were doing. So the plot really is kind of that way. And then Go Jing is like more the main character. He's one of the sons. He's the son of Sky Fury. He is now more the main character at this point. And I kind of love the fact that I can't really predict who the main characters are at what point, or what's like the main focus in that section. It really does keep me on my toes, and I have no idea what in the world is going to happen in books 2, 3, and 4 in like terms of like who is going to be leading it, or you know, like, there's just so many different kinds of things going on that I really do appreciate. But I don't want to talk too much about plot anymore, apart from one thing, and that's going back to the cannibalistic brother, sister, husband, wife. Yeah, I mean, all in one. Copper Corpse and Iron Corpse, they are married, but they are also brother and sister. So the 7 heroes of the South do come across them, as does Go Jing. And oh my god, that scene, like, the skulls, and you get the sense that they are cannibals, and it's so chilling. It is so chilling. Like, they are on this mountain, and I can just visualize it. I can picture it in my head, just like how atmospheric that is. So yeah, this does border on horror at times, in my opinion. They got like a monk with a severed head. You have skulls and Iron Corpse and Copper Corpse. And oh my god, the fights between them and the 7 heroes of the South, incredible, impeccable. Absolutely impeccable. I was going through all of my notes for this story and like typing them up because it has been a couple of months since I last read this. And so memories and thoughts have kind of faded in that time. But the whole section with Iron Corpse and Copper Corpse has stuck in my head since I read this. Like, it was the most memorable thing to me personally, as well as the ending as well, which definitely bordered on the soap opera, definitely bordered on dramatic. but I cannot wait to see what happens next, let me tell you. But I do love an older book that gets me excited. I'm into my older men, what can I say? If you have read the series, please let me know. I want to know if books 2, 3, and 4 kind of continue it. In the introduction, it does say it is the Condor trilogy that spans 12 volumes, but split into 3 larger epics consisting of 4 volumes each. So it's the Condor trilogy, but there are 4 books. Okay, it's definitely very interesting to see like the Mongol Empire in the background, to see how that's working, the main character and his goal and all that. So yeah, it's just so fascinating. Genuinely enjoyed it as I read it all the way across the world at this point in China. And definitely the book that really made me think, yes, I want to do our fantasy bingo, and I'm going to continue doing our fantasy bingo. So that's tick prompt number 1 done. Challenge 1 of 25 in total done. So unfortunately, I don't think I have too many thoughts on my second book for our fantasy bingo. I know I'm not the target audience for this anymore. If you do not know, I was a huge lover of middle grade for a very long time. And I do think this is maybe an example of a book coming into my life a little bit too late. And I do think, just to preface this as well, I do think this will be great for the actual target audience, because I do think this book was filled with a lot of imagination. It did a lot of different things that can make it really exciting and rather fast-paced for a younger reader. But for me, I did end up finding it a little bit boring. And I do think because it was such an overabundance of different plot lines and different kind of fantastical elements that it kind of just didn't really blend all that well for me. It just felt like so many things were thrown in there, just hoping something would stick to the wall. And I did end up listening to the audiobook of this. It was free to listen to on Spotify. And I will say the audiobook is actually really good. So we actually have 3 different narrators, because we do have a narrator who comes in at the very start and also does like the footnotes, because every now and then there are footnotes in the story. And they do sometimes add like a little bit of a sarcastic charm to it. And then we do have Allie. She is the female main character and she is voiced by a different person. And then we have Cad, who is the male main character, and he is voiced by a different person as well. So we do have 3 narrators for that audiobook, which is so good, so immersive. I would definitely highly recommend, if you want to read this book, to check out the audiobook. I don't know why as well, but I feel like the narrator of the narrator sounded a little bit like Julie Andrews, a little bit. It gave Enchanted vibes. You know how Julie Andrews is the narrator of Enchanted with like the whole storybook beginning and stuff like that? Kind of gave those little vibes. But Allie is half witch, and witches are pretty much feared, but she is also drafted to be part of the Knights of the Round Table. And then we have Cad, who is from Earth. He is just a regular guy, but he also gets drafted. And so it opens up this incredibly magical world to him, where we do have elements of the Arthurian legend. We have elements of Merlin in Excalibur and like this prophecy regarding Excalibur. And I do think if you are a fan of the Arthurian legend, if you are a fan of Merlin, I used to love the TV show Merlin, but I find it very hard to get into other Arthurian tales. I don't know what it is about it. It just doesn't really appeal to me that much. Apart from Merlin, the TV show, I was obsessed, and that was like the only thing I've really enjoyed from that kind of realm. And that might also contribute to why I didn't fully love this book. It just didn't turn out to be what I kind of wanted from a story. So I have owned this for a few years. And when I picked it up, I did think it would maybe lean more towards the whole witch side of things. And while, yes, there is a lot to do with witches, especially since one of our main characters is part witch, it was more on the wayside because a lot of it was to kind of like defeat this curse, restore Excalibur, and also be part of this like kind of magic school setting as Allie and Cad are training. And so I do kind of like the magic school trope every now and then too, but I also feel like I'm just not really feeling magic school at the moment too. I mean, some positives to this. I really do think it highlighted some of the darker themes, especially to do with like loss and rejection. And that is something that the 2 main characters end up bonding over. And so it was really nice to see their friendship develop. And yeah, when you have a story with pirates, mermaids, witches, knights, you know, it really does spark the imagination. It really does help to add a whole lot of color to our dreary everyday world. So yeah, it's been a little bit miserable in the area where I live. And so it kind of is like a little bit of a bright light to be able to listen to a story like this, because yeah, it did make me happy at times, also made me sad at times because it did get a little bit dark at times. There were a couple of deaths that I thought, oh, is this like too much for middle grade? But I've always loved a little bit of darkness with my middle grade. In fact, some of my favorite middle grades do kind of incorporate death and have those discussions. And there is definitely a place in middle grade for death like that. I just think, gosh, like there was quite a bit of it in this. So I would say be wary of that going into it if you have a child and you kind of want to give them a story. It was nice to read. I totally see its merits, but I personally was rather bored because I have read a lot of middle grades where there is that adventurous element to it, where I have connected with the characters in the exact same way I connected with Ellie and Cad. And the journey and the mission that they went on, I don't think it did a whole lot new that I've never seen before, but I do think for a younger reader, they might take so much more from this. But I'm glad I gave it a chance. I'm glad I read it because I have owned it for a few years and I don't like having books on my TBR for longer than a couple of years. And I have so many. I have way too many. But I am giving this one 2.5 stars. I might be a little bit harsh with that. But yeah, I think if anything, after reading this, it's definitely solidified that I have kind of grown out of middle grade a little bit. But I do cling to it so much because there have been some of my favourite books found within the middle grade category. And I did read Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins a couple of weeks ago, and I really enjoyed that. So there's definitely middle grades out there that I do enjoy even to this day, but they are very few and far between now. And unfortunately, this one just couldn't quite get the same level of the middle grades that I personally enjoy. But that is 2 prompts down, only 3 more to go. I am exactly 300 pages into the Dragonbone Chair, and I thought I'd give you an update now because I am trying so hard to finish it by Sunday, where I have my live show for this, and I am actually really loving this so far. I think it's really capturing my imagination. It has all of those things that I really do love in a fantasy book. We have really interesting characters, we have a really rich setting, we have things at this setting that really opens up my sense of wonder. And I really do feel that through the main character, Simon. And I have like a group chat with the co-host of the Three Swords Along. And a lot of people don't like Simon so far that I've seen. And I do like him though. I do kind of like it. I could get that he's annoying. And you know, he is our main character. He's a kitchen boy and he was born at the castle. I feel like there's so much more to Simon, but he is very restless. He does have a lot of things that he wants to do that kind of takes him away from what he's actually doing now. So he doesn't want to do chores. He just wants to, you know, work with Dr. Is it Mogens? I'm not listening to the audiobook. I'm just reading this physically. And I don't know how to pronounce it. Mogens? Mogens? The doctor, and he is like the castle wizard, and he wants to like study under him, but even when he gets to study under him, he kind of craves more too. Like he wants to know about magic, and he just has these big ideas of what he wants to do. And yeah, he absolutely can be quite annoying. You know, he is a teenage boy and he feels very restricted, and I totally understand that. I totally understand it. So I might end up having to defend Simon in this live show, let me tell you. But I genuinely really do love the chemistry between Simon and the doctor. And when I say chemistry, I mean like the friendship. Like I don't mean anything else that's weird going on, I promise. Nothing like that. But the kind of relationship that they have is just so charming. Like the doctor is so patient with him sometimes. I mean, he does get frustrated himself, and he does tell Simon, you are like a little child, like, come on. But like, he's one of the few people who actually takes a chance on Simon and doesn't just give up on him, which I just find so endearing. But the main plot of this essentially is the fact that the king has died, and the Dragonbone Chair is like left to his eldest son, Elias. And yeah, there's just kind of a little bit of unrest in the town, in like the kingdom, and weird things are happening. This is a bit of a slow going one, but then by like the 200-page mark, something happened that definitely escalated things. And honestly, I was riveted, absolutely riveted. And even the first 200 pages, like, I do not mind if a book is slow going and the pace is a bit slower, because I have to trust that the author has made a slow pace for a reason. And not everything can be swords and sorcery and, you know, exciting in every single chapter. We are building something. We are building something here. And I really do appreciate the fact that there has been a sense of foreboding underneath it all. And there is like this really scary guy, a guy called Priorites. I'm sure I'll find out the pronunciations in the live show on Sunday, but he's a really scary dude. He really is, and he is making me so unnerved in what's going on here. It feels like a lot of the problems that are going to happen are maybe going to stem from him. I don't know. I'm just theorizing. But things have definitely taken a turn, and things are definitely getting way more exciting now. And we're at a point at the minute as well where it feels like Simon is going to have huge character growth. And so I always love it when my main characters go on these epic character arcs. And yeah, I just really love it. I love the writing style. I loved Hayhold, which is the castle. Like, I love that setting so much because it really does feel like there's secrets behind every corner. You have tapestries where there's like a secret door behind it. You have secret corridors. You have a barrel where, you know, it's just like so many things that's happening in this castle that I'm just like, oh, I could happily stay in this setting for as long as possible, because these kinds of things really do you know, make me so excited with the fantasy genre. I love a castle. I am obsessed with castles. So to have one described so lushly and to also have all of these secrets within it, it makes me so excited. So I really do like the setting, which I actually think, just judging from some of the comments in the group chat as well, I think some of the co-hosts don't love the fact that we're at this setting. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting chat. It's going to be an interesting chat for sure, which I will link down below because it'll have happened by this point. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit worried because I do still have like 600 pages to go. And I do have like other things I need to get done. So I'm going to try and read as much as I possibly can today and get a really good chunk out of it. So yeah, I'm just about to start chapter 17. I feel awful as well because I'm annotating this beautiful Broken Binding edition. Definitely one of the most beautiful Broken Binding editions I've ever seen, like the cover and everything. Oh my god, I love it so much. But yeah, I've got a lot of sympathy for Simon. There's a lot of political intrigue, especially when it comes to the Dragonbone Chair. And I do see the inspirations that Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire have taken from this, because you do have a throne made of Dragonbone, and like in a Game of Thrones, the iron, what was it called again? The Iron Chair? The Iron Throne. It's been a long time since I even read the books. I think it's been about 7 years now since I read the books. And it's been a long time since I watched the TV show because the final season of Game of Thrones made me so very fucking angry. So like, I've just kind of like completely forgotten about the entire show now at this point. And I've just like tried to move on with my life. But yeah, the Iron Throne, I could definitely say that. I could definitely say the kind of game element of it, of trying to get this throne and getting power in the world, in that chase for power and stuff. It's definitely intriguing. And then you have, you know, little bits of magic sprinkled into, oh, like this is just like everything I love in a fantasy, honestly. So yeah, I'm so very happy that I'm getting to this one. Also, this is in my 25 books to read in 2025. So I needed to get this read this year. Otherwise, what was the point of doing 25 books in 2025 if I wasn't going to read it? So this is going to be knocking a big one off of my TBR. I don't think I can use any of the sequels really for upcoming Reddit Fantasy Bingo episodes because I'm spacing these episodes out. So by the time I do episode 2, I think I'll have already read the entire series. Time for more reading. And you know what? I'm genuinely excited to get back into it. I really, really am. I was intimidated to begin with, but oh my gosh, I really do feel like I'm eating this up.
Goodbye to you. Maybe give it a try. Listen to me when I say goodbye to you. Forget your rules, forget your shoes. I've done everything you've asked me to do. Forget your rules, forget your shoes. I've done everything you asked, but I wasted time. Forget your truth, you're just cool. I swear anything's better than you. Catch you on the flip side, catch you on the flip side. So goodbye.
Unfortunately, I feel like I am struggling through the rest of this book. I am now on page 633, so I've read another 300 pages, and this is going to be hard to talk about now without spoilers, but like I am still liking it, but like is a very mid-word for me at the minute. Like there's nothing too bad about it, except that it's very hard for this book to retain my interest at the minute. At the end of the part that I just read, yes, 100%, something's happened that has just, oh my gosh, like they've revealed like who the enemy is, okay? They've revealed who the enemy is, and it sounds like it's going to get like so freaking exciting right now. And oh my gosh, like the Game of Thrones comparisons I could make right now is strong. I kind of am sad that after like the first 200, 300 pages, we've moved away from the first location. This might be unpopular opinion, but like I loved it at the castle. I loved it at the Hayhold. I loved how it made me feel. And since leaving the Hayhold, I just don't feel that engrossed with it anymore. There's been a lot of running. There's been a lot of scene changes. And if you're not a big fan of like travel or travel sequences, you might not love how much of it is in here. I don't mind it too much, especially since we did meet someone who I am really liking at the minute. But everywhere else, I'm just slightly bored. I'm just slightly bored by massive chunks of this, unfortunately. Simon has been growing. He's been through a lot, so his character is definitely shifting. And I do like that trajectory of his character. I do feel like he's come a long way. He's become a lot more observant because of the things he's been through. I love the fact that he's actually paying attention to a lot of things. Like at the start, he doesn't seem like he can retain his attention on many things. And so there's a lot of questions there of like, maybe he has ADHD, maybe he's autistic, things that I can really relate to. And so like, there's definitely things there that I think as the story goes on, you can see him really trying his best. And when he's becoming more observant, it makes it easier for me, the reader, to also want to pay attention to the world because he's making me want to pay attention to it. But yeah, I am struggling a little bit as well because this is such a massive book and I am so freaking hot. Like it's got so hot in the UK. It's like, oh my God, like I'm sweating. I'm trying to read. This is a massive ass book. And I kind of am feeling a bit restless reading it. That doesn't bode well for like the rest of the R fantasy bingo that I need to read during the summer, because I'm like, if I'm struggling this much with a book that I highly anticipated, then I do worry about what's to come. However, as I mentioned, there is something that happened at the end of chapter 32 that genuinely intrigues me. It just took a long time to get to this point, and I totally get it in terms of like believability, in terms of realism. This journey would not have been easy. I 100% agree with that. It would not be easy. So now I'm hoping that we've moved past a lot of the traveling and we are at a point now where the story is actually going to get good. Like the plot is going to get going. All these key characters have come into play. And yeah, I can't wait to find out what happens next, honestly. So the last 300-ish pages of this book should not be that much more of a chore to read, but I don't want to jinx it either. This does still have the potential to be at least a 4-star. Unfortunately, I do think it's too late in the game for it to be anything more than that, but it really does depend on how these last 300 pages go, whether or not I give it a 3 or a 4. Like, I don't think it's lower than a 3 at the minute, unless it like really offends me and it's like really bad at the end. I doubt that's the case, but I feel like the ceiling might be a 4-star on this one. And that's actually kind of what I'm hoping for at the minute. I am hoping for a 5, obviously, but I just don't think that's going to happen. But I'm hoping for a 4. Oh, I have finally finished the Dragonbone Chair, and I have 8 hours until the live show, so I finished with plenty of time. And yeah, this definitely became a bit of a chore. However, there are certain elements of the story that is making me really want to read the second book. Like, I love seeing the brotherly dynamic between Elias and Joshua and the political intrigue behind that. Like, what is going on with the throne? What is going on with the kingdom? They have such a messy, complex relationship, and I cannot wait to see how that unfolds. Simon, as a main character, I mean, he definitely had development by the end, and there is a certain element to his story and like the mystery behind him as well. There is still so much to learn about him, I think, even though, I mean, he was definitely the main character to begin with, but as soon as the world expanded after like page 200, 300, he definitely became just like one of many players in this world. And when the plot wasn't really about Simon and it was about more things, Simon kind of just like fell on the wayside a little bit, which is honestly fine by me. But it doesn't mean I don't have a whole lot of characters I personally connect to. I do really like Binnabic, but like in a way that I just kind of like his personality. I like the way that he treats Simon. I just like his overall vibe, but like I'm not connected. That's the thing that I'm missing here. I am not connected to it. Maybe because there was a lot that was dragging the story down for me, a lot of wandering, and it didn't hold my interest the entire way through. I do love the idea of finding these swords, and now the 3 swords along makes sense to me. Like when Aaron made the name for this read along, I was like, I genuinely have no idea why it's called 3 swords along. Now I get it. Now I get it. So the fact that we do have a tangible plot in play is definitely making me excited because I do want to see like how that unfolds. There's also some interesting stuff to do with the princess, and like I can see so many different things happening in different places that it just like really took its time getting there. And again, I'm not going to hold it against the author for making this a slower read. I have to trust that authors do pacing the way that they do it because that's how they want to tell the story. But I didn't fully vibe with it. I didn't fully connect. I imagine there'll be a lot more to say about it with spoilers in the live show that I'm doing tonight. I will link it down below if you want to see it. If you have read the Dragonbone Chair and you want more spoilers and more spoilery thoughts, that live show will be filled with them, I am sure. But yeah, at this point, considering, you know, I did get to like page 750 by last night and then I finished this morning, it took like 2 and a bit hours to finish. I was just like sitting there like, yeah, that's interesting, but I kind of want this to be over now. And this has taken me all week. It's now Sunday. I started on Monday. It has taken me all week to read. And not really fully to fault with the book itself, but it's definitely the book that's taken me the longest to read, and the one that I didn't always feel like I wanted to pick up. But as I was reading, I was fine reading it. But yeah, I was just fine about it. So I will give this one 3 stars. I am glad that it's done, and that is prompt number 3 done for the Our Fantasy Bingo Challenge. That is the Written in the 80s prompt complete, so tick on that one. Yeah, now I can finally put that down. Quite heavy. I think I might end up reading the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook next by Matt Dinniman. I know this is the last prompt of the first line, but as I said, I can read in any order as long as it's on the line. I just can't move on to the next line until all of the line is complete. So I'll most likely read this one next because I just want something really fun and something like a little bit shorter. And actually, I think this might be longer than The Mask of Mirrors. Like I'm looking at 532 pages. You're currently sitting on The Mask of Mirrors, so let me just double check. 532 pages, then this one. Oh yeah, this one is 645, although that's including the glossary. 631. 631. So this is shorter, but I do have 2 big-ish books on the horizon that I hope to get done in the next like 3 to 4 days if possible. But I just want something fun, and I already know that I freaking love this series. So I'm going to go on to the Down with the System prompt for this one, and I'll come back to the High Fashion, I think that prompt is, for The Mask of Mirrors. But I'm so excited to move on from the Dragonbone Chair. Please don't come for me. I did like it, I just didn't love it. Okay, what do we think of my Damn It Donut t-shirt? Oh my god. Okay, I wanted to give you, a little update before I really get stuck in. I was just sitting here just starting this book. I just wanted to do like B-roll and stuff, but I ended up reading the first like 42 pages. Because one thing I love about the Dungeon Crawler Call series is that I start a book and I just don't want to stop until I finished. And I just know that I'm just going to sit here all day and read it from cover to cover with the audiobook as well. So I have the audiobook, read along physically. It's how I choose to consume the Dungeon Crawler Call series by Matt Dinniman. This is for the Down with the System prompt. So I'm not doing prompt number 4 just yet because I just wanted to sit here today. I don't want to think too much about what I need to do, like how much I need to work or like how much I need to analyze and engage with the text, because the Dragonbone Chair did do a little bit of a number for me, especially since I had to do the live show for it, which went amazingly, by the way. I freaking love that live show. I feel like everyone had so many great things to say, and the conversation just kept going and going. We could have been there for like 5 hours, but we needed to be stopped. So again, like if you want to check it out, I will link it down below, because then you'll get spoilers for Dragonbone Chair if you have read it or if you don't plan on reading it and you want more thoughts. Such a good live show. Aaron did such a good job hosting that one as well. Like one of the most fun book club discussions I've ever been a part of. So I'm just having my coffee today and I just want to chill and read the 3rd Dungeon Crawler Call book. The world is taken over by aliens, essentially. Everyone who isn't squished to death is put into dungeons and they have to go through the dungeons, level up. It's a lit RPG. I talk about this in like nearly every single video now, so trying to explain the series, I'm just like, I kind of don't want to explain it anymore. So I apologize if this is your first video watching me, but I do talk about Dungeon Crawler Call a lot, and this is the 3rd book in the series, so apparently this fits the Down with the System prompt. Very excited to get to all of that. So far the book, because I finished the first 2 chapters, so far the book has been about a lot of upgrading, a lot of leveling, because yeah, one thing I love about it is how video game-esque it feels. You do get like the new achievement, and you get like the leveling up stats, you get, oh, like, do you want to upgrade your space and things like that? It's just so cool. It's so cool. One of my favorite series of the past few years, honestly. And I'm only on book 3. I gave the first book 5 stars. I gave the second book 4 stars. And I just feel like this is the kind of series where I just want to eat it up. And like, I don't mind if a book isn't 5 stars in the series, because I just want to have fun. It's like what Cyndi Lauper once sang, Gavs just want to have fun. So that's what I want to do with the series, and that's what I'm having so far. It's made me chuckle a couple of times. There's a character called Wendita. Oh my gosh, like, the way that she was so happy about something brought a smile to my face, brought tears to my eyes. I was just like, oh, she's so cute. And Princess Donna has just been making me laugh so much already too. We're off to a great start, honestly. We're off to a great start. But yeah, I wanted to quickly update you before I really got stuck in, because I imagine, well, I mean, I might not get it finished today, as much as I would love to. I feel like it'll get to a certain point today where I have to do something else. But if anything, I'll probably only be left with a little bit, and then I'll have tomorrow as well. So I'm going to come back to you in a few hours. Make yourself a hot drink, because this video is probably getting maybe a little bit long and boring. I do apologize. But get yourself a refreshment. You deserve it. I am sweating so much right now as well. Why am I having a hot drink? Comfort. Because just sitting in my manga in nostalgia room reading Dungeon Crawler Call 3 with a cup of coffee. How can you take it better than this? I ask, how can you take it better than this? You're going to steal my seat as soon as I stand up, are you? Are you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I knew it. Poop. Ha 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 ha. Ah ha ha ha, pushed you. I pushed you. Just as predicted, I ended up finishing the Dungeon Anarchist cookbook like 10 minutes ago. It's now 9 p.m. at night, and I freaking love this one again. I mean, I say love as in I'm giving this one 4.5. My favorite book since the first book, and I just really love like the systems that are in play here. I love the dungeon level design, even though a lot of it does go over my head. It is a little bit complex. It is a lot of like train systems all amalgamated into one. And so there's a lot of train stuff happening in this. And this time last week, I was on a train. And if I had read this last week, I had a couple of train journeys. I should have read this on the trains I was on last week. But I needed to read Dragonbone Chair last week, so I didn't do that. But I've read this now. Can't wait to start book 4, which is The Gate of the Feral Gods. I wish I could read more for the Our Fantasy Bingo. I had a patron mention to me the other day that you can't, like, because I've barely read the rules for Reddit Fantasy Bingo, okay? I was like, oh, I might read a Dungeon Crawler call book per episode, in like per line. But then, yeah, a patron did say, oh, you can only really use an author once for Our Fantasy Bingo. I was like, oh shit. So I need to go through the rules again, just, you know, clarify things. But I love this. It was great. Every time I start a new Dungeon Crawler call book, I think, is this going to get repetitive? Because that is my biggest concern, my biggest worry with the series, is that I might start get repetitive. But there are always new elements brought into it, things that happen that makes it just that little bit different. And I can't really say too much about this book, like plot-wise, due to this being the third in the series. But I will say, Carl obtains something that is going to hopefully help, and it fits the prompt, okay? It fits the prompt. In that itself just makes me so very excited for the future. And also just Carl as a character too. He is the kind of person who we haven't really seen too much of his like backstory yet, but we've had like little bits and bobs, and there's things with his parents I'm so intrigued by, but like I know nothing. I know next to nothing. And so I'm hoping that we do get more of that in the future, that we actually get more of Carl's story. There is the potential of such a rich history there, and to make Carl, who I do really enjoy as a character, I love him. I think there's so much more potential there to get him to be a more fully fleshed character, and I do feel like he has this amazing journey ahead of him if we keep this trajectory. I mean, I love the fact that there is such a mysterious element to him up to this point, but I need to know more. I need to know more. Princess Donut, again, love. This book keeps the laughs, keeps the humor. One thing that stood out to me was when they get an invisibility potion and the announcer is like, invisibility potion, guess what this does? It just like really silly things like this. Or like whenever Princess Donut swears, like again, it's so hard to picture a cat swearing and saying the word fuck. It's just so funny to me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like my brain and my humor, but just hearing a cat say fuck is just hilarious to me, okay? Still exciting, still fast paced, still getting my juices going. This is putting the swamp in my swamp pass. What can I possibly say more about it? Oh, I just love the series. It's definitely becoming like one of my favorite series of all time at this point. It really is. I did a top 10 fantasy series earlier this year. If you haven't checked it out yet, I will link it down below. And I say in that video as well about like how newish I am to the genre still. And I think I do mention the first book in Dungeon Crawler Call, but I was like, I can't really count this whole series because I haven't read the series yet. But I am finding my feet with so many things, and especially with the fantasy genre. And this is just the one for me. This is the one. Part of me doesn't want to get through it too quickly, because as much as I want to catch up with the series, I kind of don't want to at the same time, just because I want to make sure that there's still more on the horizon that I can, you know, pick up at any time. But when I catch up, and I believe there are maybe 1 or 2 more books in the series to follow that aren't out yet. When I catch up, I'm going to be so sad, but like so happy about it too, but so sad. Okay, nothing more to say about this, just other than the fact that I did just listen to it all day from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. I was just riveted. Audiobook, physical book, in my hands, in my ears, up my snatch. You know, it was just everywhere. It filled every orifice. And that's exactly how I like my books. So that is 4 prompts down now. The next one, I'm obviously not going to start tonight because it is, you know, well, now 9:15 p.m. I'm not going to start this tonight, but I will be doing The Mask of Mirrors next. And again, I'm so excited. I was on that live show last night, like this time yesterday, for the Dragonbone Chair. And Angela, who was one of the co-hosts, mentioned this one. And this is one of her favorites. So I hope that I love it just as much. And I hope I just devour it just like I did with the 3rd Dungeon Crawler Call book. I'm sure I will. A lot of Broken Binding books actually do the job for me. I mean, I know Dragonbone Chair, also a book I got from Broken Binding. I mean, I don't mean that Broken Binding or the publisher of these stories like for the first time or anything. No. I just mean that Broken Binding is how I discovered these series. So that's how I discovered Mask of Mirrors and the Dragonbone Chair. And while, again, like this one didn't hit as much as I wanted it to, it was still very good. And a lot of the times, Broken Binding books that I get do hit. It is my favorite subscription box, like without a doubt. My favorite subscription box, and I'm looking forward to another win. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because there is a huge potential that it could crush me, but my hopes are Hi. And when I start this book as well, I'll let you know what it's about. I, at the minute, kind of don't really know what it's about, but I like to go in not really knowing too much. So I'll update you tomorrow. It's now full steam ahead. Little Dungeon Crawler Call 3 Easter egg there. Full steam ahead to finishing the first line of our fantasy bingo. Good morning. I say good morning. I think, it's after 12. So maybe it's like, what is that? Is that afternoon now? No. Is that evening? No. I don't know what it is. I'm about to start The Mask of Mirrors. I haven't started it yet. I do have reading sprints today, and I do want to get a good chunk read before then. So that's what I'm going to do. I've made myself a homemade cappuccino. Genuinely, all I do is use my trusty coffee machine, steam the oat milk. It's great. It's a good time. And yeah, that's fucking lovely. So actually, I need to tell you what this is about, but also firstly, I need to know what it's about myself. I actually don't kind of know. I didn't buy this because I wanted to read it. It came in a broken binding subscription. So I was pleasantly surprised when it came because I feel like I had heard of this before, but like very low rumblings. I don't think this is like taking off on BookTube or anything. Although again, like there are like several people who do really love this series who I've seen, but it's not like Robin Hood or anything like that. This does say that a con artist, a vigilante, and a crime lord must unite to save their city. That does sound really interesting. And where you follow Renata, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She is the con artist and she's come to the City of Dreams and she wants to trick her way into, I think, a royal house and secure a fortune for her and her sister. She's pulled into the aristocratic world of House Trementus. Oh, people are going to slate me for my pronunciations. That actually sounds great because it does sound like she does have to masquerade. And it really does help with the cover of this doing that. And so the high fashion prompt will definitely be ticked with this one. Oh, I'm excited. I am so excited. I hope it's just as good as my reading experience yesterday reading Dungeon Crawler Call 3. I really hope so. Good morning. Hopefully today is the last day of our fantasy bingo. I'm going to put you down. Yeah, hopefully today is the last day of our fantasy bingo. It is currently Wednesday. I did reading sprints last night and I got parts of the way through The Mask of Mirrors and I'm on page 286. And like so far I am liking it. It is a little bit boring, but again, I do know that this is more of a slow burn kind of book. So I'm taking it as it comes. I'm going to spend all of today just sitting down here in the living room reading. I'm also waiting for another bookshelf to come for my living room so I can put my movies on. So I'm hoping that that will come relatively soon. And I do know that the audiobook for The Mask of Mirrors is on Spotify, but I did want to predominantly read this physically, especially since I'm struggling a little bit with it. So I want to pay the utmost attention. And again, like, I'm not hating or anything. I'm just finding it like so slow. And after reading the third Dungeon Crawler Call book, which was very fast, very fun, very exciting, it's just like a little bit of a change, you know? And one thing I didn't mention as well about like something that is an element in this book too, is that there is this mysterious figure called the Rook, who acts like a little bit of like a Robin Hood kind of character. So even though we have Wren, who has like infiltrated this noble house and she's wearing this like kind of mask to kind of change her status and to change her position in this world and to be able to talk to people and stuff. I'm finding like this is such a great book to read for this prompt, by the way, for the fashion prompt, because it really does highlight like how much clothes can change a person in like not just their competence but their status and the way they interact. There is actually a lot of power that comes with clothing and like masks as well, just like even the embodiment of wearing a mask whether that's like metaphorical or physical, it's just all present in this book. And I love the way that it ties into the character and how much Ren is like changing, and you know, it's so interesting and so intriguing. I love the descriptions of the world too. I didn't realize that M.A. Carrick is actually two people. That's actually really fun. I don't know if I can really tell who has written what, because it does feel quite seamless. Like this book was stitched together perfectly. Oh my god, that's perfect. What a great pun. But like, yeah, it feels like this narrative is like very cohesive. So it feels like a narrative that has been planned meticulously, if that's the right word, so that the amalgamation of the author's writing styles has like come together very beautifully. Like it does really work, because I didn't even realize it was two different authors. So that just shows you like how good it's written. So far, there has just been like a lot of discussions with aristocracy and a lot of social stuff, which honestly, if I was just tuning into what feels a little bit like a historical drama, that would like really tickle my pickle. But like at the minute, it's just not like tickling me. But I am still going to read it. And I own books 2 and 3 from the Broken Binding. So I'll definitely be continuing the series no matter what. Unless like I genuinely despise the ending, which I doubt. I've heard it gets more exciting by the end too. So I'll be looking forward to the last like, how many pages have I got to read? I think I've got like 350, maybe just under 400 pages to go. So it's early enough now. I can just say, I think I'm starting to come down with a bit of a cold actually. I really hope now I can't be bothered dealing with that. But no, perfect day for reading. It's overcast again. It was so hot just a few days ago to now constantly being overcast. There's rain, there's wind, thunder and lightning the other day. My body doesn't actually know what to do with it. So it's decided, oh, let's have a cold. Let's get sick. Why not? I don't think I'm sick though. Like, I'm not feeling sick. I just feel a cold coming on. Like, my nose is feeling a little bit runny at the minute. Not that you needed to know that, but look, I just didn't want to wear a mask for this update and for reading this book. I just wanted to, you know, be mask off, talk to you honestly about anything and everything. So let's get prompt number 5 of our fantasy bingo finished. Okay, your boy has finished the Mask of Mirrors, which means I've also finished the very first line of the fantasy bingo board, which means I have unlocked the second line. I can't wait to continue this challenge. But firstly, I gotta wrap up this challenge and like the first line in general and the prompt high fashion. So I did like this. I gave it 3 stars. So it's on the same level as the Dragonbone Chair for me. They both had elements that, you know, I kind of wish they both incorporated and like they both kind of took from each other. Because one thing I did love about this was characters. I do think this one is stronger in character because I love elements like found family and the connection that Ren has with Tess and Sedge. That was just wonderful. Like I love anything to do with that kind of trope, and I thought it was explored so well in this. I also love the fact that this has LGBTQ plus representation too. That was something that I wasn't expecting. It is also Pride Month as I'm filming this, so I will take any rep that I can get. So all of these elements added together made for some really fascinating characters, and especially since they are playing a little bit of a dangerous game, it just adds more to the stakes of the story because I am starting to slowly develop feelings for them and care for them. I also find Gray and Vargo some of my favourite characters as well. I just love following them. I just find them so intriguing. And Ren is a good character as well. She's the main character. She's a good character, don't get me wrong, but I feel like she's a little bit overshadowed by some of the side characters. And the mystery surrounding the Rook character too, oh, that was very enticing. That kept me going for the rest of the book, especially since there were maybe a couple of times when I felt like, oh, maybe I should just stay in F, just because I feel like this might be like the wrong time to read it. I think I'm still in a book hangover from Dungeon Crawler Call 3, so I feel like, especially since this is a bit of a complex magic system, a bit of a complex world, it does feel like I might be reading this at the wrong time. Again, my little brain is finding it a little bit hard to concentrate sometimes. So fortunately, I do think that last couple of chapters, things really took a turn and it got me really hyped again. There's just a growing list of enemies. There are people I need to watch out for, people I don't know if I can trust, and it really just add more tension to it. And now we have all of these different story threads going into the second book that I'm very excited to follow and find out what happens next. And there is so much going on in the background too with different class systems and the politics. So I feel like once I've really found my footing with this world, I might have a better time with the sequels. And I'm hoping the pace gets a little bit quicker now as well. It definitely felt like we were ramping up in the final few chapters. But yeah, sometimes the pace was going so slow, it felt like we were only taking one step every 10 pages half the time. But the last few chapters do indicate maybe a much tighter, a much faster paced sequel, maybe? I don't know. If you've read the sequels, please let me know if you do find the sequels a little bit more exciting and more happening. And this might end up being a book that I appreciate more if I've read the entire series as a whole, because yeah, sometimes I feel like it has a bit of a hard job with it being the first book in the series to set up the world, to set up characters. But once you have the entire series to reflect on, it might hold up better that way. But yeah, I feel like it had a bit of a job to do introducing me to this world. So I feel like it did a decent enough job. Glad I didn't hate it. I'm glad I didn't hate any of the books in this video, honestly, which I need to show you. But like, yeah, that was a 3-star. But stay tuned because I may still end up reading the sequels maybe by the end of the year. Maybe. So let me grab all of the books and we can wrap it up. So I did read these 4 books plus The Witch, The Sword, and The Cursed Knights. I think it was called, oh my god, I already forgot what it's called. The middle grade book, but I have already donated that to my library, my local library, because I did donate about like 500 or more books to them last week. And after I finished that book, I was like, this would be perfect at the library because I don't think I'm going to keep it. So I don't have the physical copy of that anymore, but I do still have these 4 books. So A Hero Born was read for the Knights and Paladins prompt, and I gave this one a 4-star. And then I read The Witch, The Sword, and The Cursed Knights for the Hidden Gem prompt, and I gave that one a 2.5-star. Then I read The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams for the Written in the 80s prompt, and I gave this one a 3-star. Then I read the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook by Matt Dinniman for the Down with the System prompt, and I gave this one a 4.5-star. Definitely my favorite of the vlog. And finally, I read The Mask of Mirrors for the High Fashion prompt, and I gave this one a 3-star. And I see my Ash. Hello, Ash. Ash is circling my chair because he wants it, don't you? He wants my chair. He wants my chair. You're not getting it. So having said that, yes, I have unlocked the second line, and the prompts for that include Impossible Places, A Book in Parts, Gods and Pantheons, Last in a Series, and Book Club or Read Along Book. So very excited to research what I could possibly use to fulfill those prompts. And I hope I find some amazing fantasy reads in the next video. Make sure you stick around to find out what they're going to be. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you read any of the books that I read in this video. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? Just chat to me down below. Also, let me know what you're reading for our fantasy bingo and what you used for these prompts. That would be really cool for me to see what kind of books I could have read for these prompts. So yeah, just chat to me down below in the comments. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. If you'd like to try my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.